This video will show you my first attempt at the MackanRules Freeplay challenge. The rules are it's Spice Islands, in reverse mode, and you have to choose any 2 islands for all your towers to be on for the entire game. You cannot change islands during the run. Whatever you choose, you are stuck with. As for towers like the Engineer, their sub-towers can go anywhere because they're beyond your control and nothing's allowed on the water. For example, the Ice Monkey here, as you can see, has ice under it, which means it's more on water than land. But this time, it's not. As you can see here with the absolute zero, when I sell it, the farm stays. And a better example of this is if I put 2 towers with it. As you can see, the Alchemist has an ice platform underneath it, despite looking like it's on land. To make it a little easier to display this, I changed the farm into a smaller tower like the Desperado. And as you can see, well, with the second one, there is no ice platform underneath, so when I sell the Ice Monkey, it stays but the Alchemist goes. And as you can see, it is a good deal bit closer to the edge of the island than it should be. The only tower restriction in this entire challenge is Azili. She is banned. You can choose any other hero, however. Towers like Lord of the Abyss for boats must have the black ink underneath it. As you can see, that first boat did not have the ink, but this one and the next couple do, which means they are allowed as they're on land. You cannot use them if they are off the land, however. Now, I'm sure all of you have come to notice I have not uploaded in a little while. That's because life has just been busy with a lot of different shit. Anyway, continuing on with this run, we decided to go with Geraldo for the hero because he'd be useful for Paragon Totems, and his NFT, as well as the fertilizer, help a lot with farming. The setup is nothing special at first, as eventually we just change it into a balloon trap. I will be speeding up this footage and cutting because it's over 3 hours long. However, I will keep in at least most of the important moments and the milestone. As you can see here, we are doing rather well. We sold Geraldo to get, once we got the NFT, so we can get a little bit of extra money. I got the Engineer to help out with defending, and I did lose a little more lives than I should have. I say that as I get down to, I believe, a whopping 2 lives. Do not let your games get that close, but that's the power of greeting. I eventually get a farm down, and as you can see, this is kind of just a let's wing it run. As I didn't really have any full proper plan yet, I just wanted to see how far I can go with just a little bit of optimization. As you can see, by a little bit, I mean I already failed to consider there are lead balloons on round 28. So I go back in time and I try my best to do that. Eventually I do deal with the lead balloons after a couple of fails. And with that, we've gotten the balloon trap up and running, which will be a great source of income for the earlier round. Especially once we get the triple XL trap before we get to round 100, which will be a long way away once we get it. This will make us a lot of money with a rubber to gold as well as a village. That said village I of course turned into a Monkeyopolis, starting with a 1-farm Monkeyopolis by sacrificing an IMF loan to it, before eventually turning it into a 2 BRF Monkeyopolis, which is the most powerful one I could get. And then eventually I would turn the farming setup into a Banana Central with an overclock, which of course turned into an Ultra Boost, as well as the Monkeyonomics. Which, another rule I forgot to mention, is towers like the Monkeyonomics or the Special Operations cannot be bought and resold for extra abilities, as it makes you a little bit too much money. Well, I mean, I don't see too much of a problem with it, but it's part of the rules, so obviously don't do it. Also forgot to mention that mods are allowed, at least some of them are. The mods I am using are the Faster Forward mod, the Time Machine mod as you've seen, and the final one is the Sacrifice Helper. All of these mods are allowed, as they do specify what mods you can and cannot use. You obviously cannot use ones that give you straight up damage buffs, that give you alternate towers, any of the crazy shit like that. So we just keep on cruising, making money. I do fuck up a few times by not paying attention or optimizing correctly, but hey, that's just how it goes. By round 100, I have over $1.8 million saved up, a bunch of Paragon Totems, and I'm sure you may be able to tell I'm going to go for the Engineer Paragon first. But unfortunately, I ran into a bit of a roadblock at round 100, failing to consider that, well, this is a bad balloon. But eventually, we get through it, after a couple little retries, and we make our way up to saving up pops for the Engineer Paragon by swapping out the rubber to gold, into, well, when I get the goddamn thing placed down, a Sentry Champion. This of course will then take the Ultra Boost priority, and we use it to farm up pops a little quicker, so we can save a bit of money in the cash slider to get our Engineer Paragon up and running. Said Engineer Paragon we get by round 115 up to degree 70. I decided to get to degree 70 because it's fairly even, and a decently high degree is good because the overclock ability on the Paragon will come back faster. I then decided to start farming pops for the Wizard Paragon, hitting down an Archmage, a Wizard Lord Phoenix, and as well as an Ultra Boost for the Archmage. As it turns out, the Paragon of Power in Monkey Knowledge doesn't really do too much for the Engineer Paragon, as the lowest damage does come from the sentries, and it does have a fixed attack speed at its max rate. This Engineer Paragon obviously helps us a lot with defending, and Ultra Boosting the Archmage is fairly strong. I would then abruptly die to round 156 to the insides of a bag, and after a couple retries, even though I could beat it without it, I decided to just say, fuck it, let's get the Wizard Paragon. So after getting the other tier 5, I decided to get the Wizard Paragon up to degree 80 and then continue on there, whilst farming pops for the next Paragon I wanted to get, which was the Ninja. Eventually on round 189, we do get the Ninja Paragon up to degree 80 as well. Luckily for us, the Ninja Paragon is amazing in Freeplay, having the permanent Grand Sabo ability, which weakens every mob class balloon by 25%, on top of slowing everything below a bad down by 50%. It also of course has stuns, powerful charges, and it's overall just a very strong Freeplay Paragon, which we then would start saving pops for our next Paragon, which would be the Boomerang. This one doesn't have to be super duper strong, but obviously I'd want to get a decent degree on it, and eventually we do get that. On round 224, we get a Boomerang Paragon up and going, up to degree 60. We then decide to start farming pops for the Spike Factory as well as the Tac Paragon, which will be our next two Paragons, with preferably the Spike Factory being the last one we get. Despite the addition of the Boomerang Paragon, we die a couple times to round 226 abruptly, which was pretty annoying. And whilst there were definitely ways I could get around this round, I just could not be bothered. So after a little bit of retries, I decided let's just get the Tac Paragon, which also we got to degree 60. I had to sell my Super Mines, but luckily it didn't have that many pops on it, and due to how strong these Super Mines is, it won't take long for me to get those pops back and then some. Unfortunately, even with the Legend of the Knight's help, we died to 253. However, it turns out I was just pretty poor at timing when everything would leak within the 7-second window. Or 8 seconds, I don't know. But eventually we do get the timings right, and the Legend of the Knight does suck up a few things, and we kill whatever else doesn't get through, before we die again to 255. After 255, we decide let's get the Spike Factory Paragon. Turns out I have a lot of selling power. And then, from here on out, up until we struggle again, it's just going to be a time lapse. No commentary, just gameplay. Enjoy. As you can see, for a good while we were stuck on round 276. In fact, I was very close to just quitting the run right then and there. But luckily I didn't, because turns out the attempt I said this will be the final attempt and if it fails I give up, is the successful attempt, and it wasn't as close as I thought. Just some really good Legend of the Night timing, and it turns out everything eventually works out well. We would then eventually get to 280 before we get stuck again, before I decide to take a break from balloons in general for the day until a few hours later, where I then pick up the run where I left off. After a couple of attempts I did eventually beat round 280, and then we cruised for at least a couple more rounds. A few rounds got really tough, in between the end round where I gave up and this round, but yeah. Turns out these runs are a lot tougher than I thought they would be. Well, I knew they'd be tough, but holy shit. They are pretty tough. They require a lot of time, commitment, and for something that didn't really have much of a plan behind it, I gotta say, this run did pretty well. We eventually died to round 289, where I couldn't really see any real way of beating it, unless I wanted to spend even more time retrying the same round over and over and over again, trying to achieve a very different result, or at least one that's ever so slightly different to where I can successfully beat it. As unfortunately they did patch where you can buy and resell Geraldo in order to restock his shop, for a good reason, but whatever. I am pretty happy with this first attempt, and I will be doing more attempts, and if I can't get any more successful, this will probably be the run I submit, but I'm fairly certain that I can definitely optimize a lot better. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time when I reattempt this challenge. I will eventually make another channel, as in a VODs channel, in order to upload the full uncut versions, and until then, I will see you next time. Bye.